So earlier we had a video about rebuilding a D16zc block that was started from the ground up into building the whole bottom end, because it's actually an upgrade because the owner had a D15B7 Mini Me. So we decided, or he decided, to upgrade to D16zc block. We got it all done, and of course now we installed it on his car, and of course your favorite compression test, and of course the initial startup. Yes sir. And of course also the drive around initially for the first time it goes, and many more. So this one will spark your interest, right? Let's go. Alright, now as mentioned, this is basically a stock rebuild with some juice because we installed an ARP rod bolt upgrade, and of course everything is meant to be perfectly good as a stock farm engine. We of course with a ported head, and don't worry, the end screen at the end of this video will have the link of the whole engine build, but for now, let's go do on what we're doing for this engine right now. When the belt arrived, we installed it, and now it's ready for the engine bay. Now here we go. Now, as soon as we got the engine installed on the engine bay of the car, of the chassis, we removed the valve cover because, as requested by the owner, we're gonna repaint it or repaint it matte black so to keep it looking OEM and good. So we removed it, now it's done. Look at that. Now I think it calls for an NGK blue high tension wires. This way the contrast will be really good, but hey, black on black still looks good, right? But the NGK blue high tension wires, always gonna look clean. And the owner sent this clear timing belt cover. First, I was not really a fan of these, but upon installing it, I was like, it actually looks clean, right? Especially when you have an OG Z Speed adjustable cam gear. Yep, it looks really clean and good, right? Actually, you know what? The owner could actually hit up Downshift Supply, the same guys that supplied us with ARP rod bolts, because they carry the NGK blue high tension wires, the OEM replacement ones. It's gonna look really good. So in time, the owner could decide to do that as a dress up for the engine bay. It's gonna be good. And sort of a backstory for this engine or this project is that the owner's close friend is also a white Civic hatchback that has a D15B PO8 engine that's more active in the track days or even 2K battles and all that. So there's a big chance that the owner of this engine, might join him one or a few times. So I told the owner that while we're rebuilding it, why not consider upgrading ARP rod bolts? This way, we have more safety insurance when he starts using it on the track. And of course, because we're rebuilding it, there's no added labor on that, right? So the good thing is the owner decided to go for it and get the ARP rod bolts. This way, if ever he decides to install it or go upgrade on ARP rod bolts, once this is done, it's gonna be harder because we have to pull the engine and redo the rebuild. So it's better to do it now. And so we did that. So this block or engine is ready. And of course, because this is now a D16zc block with P28 pistons, this is identical to a D16z6 from the US. So in stock form, this has 9.3:1 static compression. And because on the rebuild, we resurfaced the head 0.010 of an inch and the block 0.010 to total of 0.020, it now leaves us with a 9.7:1 static compression, which is still very, very mild. So this one, locally, you can actually run it with unleaded, so there's no problem. So they can run premium and whatnot. The fuel is going to be fine. So this is going to be a good, long-lasting, strong stock engine because it's already ported really good. So it's going to be performing really, really awesome. And this is worth mentioning because I see a lot of local peeps or even local shops that would actually on a stock rebuild for their customer would suggest, okay, run pistons, we need PM7 pistons and whatnot. Sure, that's gonna be fine, but now when they install that, it's gonna start pinging and they're gonna tell the customer it needs cams. Okay, so we can go with Crower cams, and it's gonna be good Crower stage 2 or even stage 3. But then because they milled the head, it's still pinging just a bit, so now they're gonna suggest to run E85. The next thing you know, the stock rebuild is more like a race car that you can only use in the weekends, or even when you're using it, you worry that you might, have a breakdown and have the car towed. So that is no longer a street car. And I mentioned that because I keep seeing that over and over again that's done here. And the reason why I mentioned this for the locals, this is for added awareness, because if they suggest you to do this or do that with certain mods and not explain it and just say, oh, that's gonna make it more power or make it more strong, that's why we do that. You have to be aware that might not be the case, because any builder that knows what they're doing can actually explain to you in layman's term exactly why the parts are gonna be needed or for what and what it does, just like I do. And maybe that's why you guys enjoy this channel, right? And also, the reason why I'm explaining all this is because some people will suggest all those things is for you to spend your money while they explore what they want to explore. Like, for example, you're becoming their guinea pig. So that's not fair, right? That's your money. You have to be aware of that. And we can't solely blame them, because yeah, hey, scammers or people that's all about all talk will always exist. It's the owner's responsibility to actually be aware of these things, because hey, if they're aware of this, they're not going to listen to bullcrap, right? So those guys will still be there but will not be able to find a victim for their own studies or their own exploration. So it's going to be less problems, right? So hey, both sides have to be aware. Okay. Okay, now sorry for that rambling and all that, but now we go to the compression test. And the reason why we do the compression test before startup is because it also helps prime the oil pump. So let's go. But wait, I got you there for a moment. If you haven't liked the video, like the video, because it's get spread to a wider audience. And just what we talked about earlier, it's gonna lead to show to a wider audience, because it's gonna give them a better awareness, especially the local ones. So it's gonna help. So like and share the video. And if you haven't, subscribe and hit the bell notification bell. Oh, sorry, redundant. Because we keep continue sharing all this is to market SRD Motorsports, of course. But as this is my passion, we continue to share to actually develop a better sense of the local car scene and the community. If it's a small help, hey, I'll choose that over not helping at all, right? And so, hey, you gotta subscribe. So for real this time, let's go. Okay, cylinder number one. And this is acting as a priming for the oil pump. Okay, so it's 175 psi. And remember, this is 9.7 is to 1 compression, so almost stock. This is good numbers. I'm glad to see this actually. Number two. Okay, so it's 170 psi, so it's still close. It hasn't even run yet. Number three. Okay, so it's still 175 psi. All right, that's good. Okay, number four, the last one. Oh, 175. Okay, my colleague said let's try number one again. Okay, so it's 175 psi. And this hasn't run yet, so I'm glad to see this because it's more realistic. And also, driving it around with load and deceleration is gonna seat the range really well. It's gonna hit 200 plus. And now after compression test, that's probably primed up the oil pump. So now let's start it. Let's watch the oil light. Oh yeah, so the oil light just turns off right on time. So this is gonna really good. And now we leave this running until it gets to operating temperatures. And once the radiator fan turns on or switches on, we shut it down and drain the oil while it's hot. This way, any debris or any machining debris that went to the oil because of the startup will be drained out. Okay? Yeah. And so after draining the oil and putting new oil in, we're gonna restart it again for another try, and we're gonna go drive out. So let's go do this again. Yep, here we are. From the outside this time. Come on. Oh yeah. Yep. It's now a 1600 D16zc. Yeah, boy. Alright. Now we're gonna go drive this around. Let's go, let's go. Okay, here we chose this time to be, after 6 p.m. This way there's less cars and it's not dangerous. And we don't plan to drive around crazy, okay? We don't race around like that. See, it's running quite good. And you don't have to ever baby the motor when you're running it when it's fully built or initially driven. That's like not helping the piston rings seat in well. So you just drive it normal, try to impose a bit of load, some deceleration, because that helps push out the piston ring and push it in, and it's gonna accelerate the wearing in. This way it breaks in properly, and that is why we don't do the 1,000 kilometer break-in nonsense, because this is gonna take just around 80 to 100 kilometers, and it's gonna be all good. Like right now, as soon as we get to the main road, pay attention to how I drive it. I drive it with load, like I'm overtaking and all that, but not really. But not racing, but not driving it easy. And you have to impose some deceleration. This way, it wears in properly. Now listen to this. Oh, second gear spin. Just drive it normal, like as if you're, driving it in a spirited way. That's gonna help seal the piston rings. At least that works for me. I've been doing this, or I've been building engines for years and running the initial stage this way, and it's been working good so far. So hey, to each their own, I guess. Until now, I still see people like drive their car like with the 1,000 kilometer break-in, driving it easy and slowly, and then after 1,000 kilometers, just another retune. So hey, at least in my book, that's not needed. But maybe how they build it, you need to do that. So we don't know. So we installed the wideband initially just to see if it's okay to drive it around as it is, and it looks like it's okay and it's safe. And so tomorrow we're going to do further tune up and complete this tuning, and this way the owner can get the car and drive it around for good. And of course, you guys got to check out our Facebook page, because after a few kilometers or a few 100 kilometers, when we get the compression test, we'll be posting it there instead of making another video, because that's going to be boring. Okay, here's the time we were building the engine. So you gotta click here, or actually it'll be in the description below, to see the whole video of the engine building. And of course, if you guys want to check out how we did the cylinder head, there's a dedicated video for that, and it's gonna be in the description below. So hey, this is gonna be something really cool for you guys to check, to understand what it takes to make an efficient, or building an efficient running engine for daily, or even for racing or for races. So this is gonna be really good subject or topic for you guys to check on or binge watch on. And of course, actually, we'll have the end screen for the video of the engine build of this one, so that you guys could continue watching and of course enjoy it. So you can just click here for that.